Okay, let's have Dina start the music.
Here she is.
Doesn't sound very
No, something's not right.
Original, yeah, my original sound is off.
Okay.
That little button on the. Come on.
Hey, there's a box on
There, yes, that little box on the top makes all the difference.
box on the screen that says we're being recorded.
There we go.
Vision, vision, awakening to a vision. Vision, vision, awakening to a vision. Standing firm on the earth, eyes upon the horizon, we dance our dream awake. Standing firm on the earth, eyes upon the horizon, we dance our dream awake. We dance our dream awake. Vision, vision, awakening to a vision. Vision, vision, awakening to a vision. Standing firm on the earth, eyes upon the horizon, we dance our dream awake. Standing firm on the earth, eyes upon the horizon, we dance our dream awake. We dance our dream awake. We dance our dream awake. We dance our dream awake.
Thank you, Dina. That was great.
Thanks, pretty.
Our daily word for today, the word is awareness. The world feels new as I grow in awareness. Spending time in mindful contemplation increases my awareness of my surroundings. As I concentrate and focus my attention, I shut out distractions and settle my unquiet mind. My world begins to feel brighter, vibrant, and more alive as I notice the soft sounds and minute textures and colors I overlooked before. Spending time in prayer increases my awareness of God's guidance, which I share with others when I am patient and kind, generous and forgiving. This goodness returns to me as kindness and gentleness in the people I meet, and ease and grace in all the places I go. The world has not changed, but I have. My awareness of God in and as my life has opened my eyes and ears, my mind and my heart. And from Psalm 119, open my eyes so that I may behold wondrous things out of your life. We are so blessed to celebrate the day here in peace and harmony and joy. The light shining all around us and from within us blesses our world as we reach outward, expressing more love and more light to encompass the globe, to bless people everywhere, to be the blessing which God has created us to be. And it is good. Dina?
Thank you. There's lyrics for the congregational song in the chat box. This is Into the World. I will briefly introduce it to you and then we'll do it for real. So I'm going to start by showing you the trusting the way part, which is in the middle of the verse, which sounds like this. Let me find, there's our key. Trusting the way sounds like this. trusting the way will be shown every day. We bring our hearts into the world. We bring our hearts into the world. I'm going to do that again. Trusting the way will be shown every day. We bring our hearts into the world. We bring our hearts into the world. Now here's what happens before that. We bring our hearts into the world. We bring our hearts into the world. Trusting the way will be shown every day. We bring our hearts into the world. We bring our hearts into the world. All right, so here we are. We're going to take it for real from the very beginning. We bring our hearts into the world. We bring our hearts into the world. Trusting the way will be shown every day. We bring our hearts into the world. We bring our hearts into the world. We speak our truth into the world. We speak our truth into the world. Trusting the way will be shown every day. We speak our truth into the world. We speak our truth into the world. We shine our light into the world. We shine our light into the world. Trusting the way will be shown every day. We shine our light into the world. We shine our light into the world. We bring our hearts into the world. We bring our hearts into the world. Trusting the way will be shown every day. We bring our hearts into the world. We bring our hearts into the world. We bring our hearts into the world. We bring our hearts into the world.
That was great. Now's the time when we light our candles to symbolize the Christ light shining in and through us every day. There is no darkness within the Spirit, only light, light which heals, light which illumines and lifts us up. One light, one Christ, one God. Our affirmation today, I'll say it once and then we'll repeat it. I set my intention today to keep my heart light and free. Together, I set my intention today to keep my heart light and free. And so it is. One more song, Dana, and then John is on.
Thank you. To open up Reverend John's talk this evening, this is a song by Derek Rydell, Move in the Direction of Your Dreams. Not in that key, though. In my dreams, this song is in this key. Don't you think you owe it to yourself to look inside of you and take the time to realize what you are here to do? Don't you think the time has finally come to stand and face the fire to walk into the blazing sun and claim your heart's desire. You were placed upon this earth with a mission to complete. Now the time has come, stand up strong, claim your destiny. You must move in the direction of your dreams and act as if they've already come true, even when there is no hope, or so it seems. Move in the direction of your dreams. Do you think that you're not good enough to be a shining star? Or do you think because the road looks tough that you won't get that far? Do you think that only some are great and others left for chance? Or maybe that it's just too late, a futile circumstance? You were placed upon this earth with a mission to complete. Now the time has come, stand up strong, claim your destiny. You must move in the direction of your dreams and act as if they've already come true, even when there is no hope, or so it seems. Move in the direction of your dreams. You must move in the direction of your dreams and act as if they've already come true, even when there is no hope, or so it seems. Move in the direction of your dreams. Move in the direction of your dreams. Move in the direction of your dreams.
What a day this is. I'd like to begin by thanking so many people who created this ministry. There's Louise and Bob, and I see every minister that's here, and some others that are not here. But so many people work so diligently, inspired to bring forth this ministry. And so this is a special day, and I'm grateful to be the one to speak. Although I think any of these others could do a better job, but I'm the one, so I'm grateful. And I see what I'm doing today, it's a threefold task: to bring to a close a phase of this ministry, Unity Church of Blairsville, and to grieve a little together, and then to inspire us to let go what was and move forward to what can be. So first, the bringing to a close a phase of this ministry. I want to emphasize first and foremost that this ministry is not ending. I rejoice in that decision. It is changing, and those are two very different things. I'd like to share some of the history of the Unity movement, and don't ask any of the other ministers here if I got this right, but this is the history of the Unity ministers according to John Strickland. It was founded in 1889, but not founded as a church movement. It was first a publishing house and a prayer ministry. Back in those days, as they were understanding and developing and creating this idea, this philosophy of ministry of life, nobody was really interested in publishing for them, so we'll publish it ourselves. They became one of the largest publishing houses in the Midwest. As unity grew, the founders were led to purchase some land 1,000,000 miles out of town, well, 18 miles out of Kansas City. And that was way out in the country, if you think about that time, early 1900s. But there was no water source for them. So they began to dig wells, and digging wells for water was a failure. They couldn't find water. Instead, they found gas and oil. And finding gas and oil helped finance some of the early construction and growth out there. And they eventually built some lakes, some really beautiful lakes out there. And what was known originally as Unity Farm, and it was a farm, and there were orchards, great apples, and some peaches and other things. And they had dairy cows and so forth. That later grew into what was known as, and is known as, Unity Village. And they were able to move their entire operation to Unity Farm, but not for long. The Great Depression hit them hard. And so that big dream of having that great village out there in the hinterlands failed, if you will. And they had to move back to downtown Kansas City, 9th and Tracy. Our hopes and dreams inspired by God do not always proceed in a straight line, in a forward progression. In time, after the Depression, they were able to move permanently to Unity Village. So let me talk a little bit about the development of churches, Unity churches. As the Fillmores began to draw crowds and people would come to Kansas City, they would lecture and teach classes, people began to ask for places in their own communities where they could study and learn together in a community. These life-transforming ideas that we call New Thought or metaphysical Christianity, and also in Unity, we call it practical Christianity. And so they developed the idea of centers of study and prayer and meditation. They were not called churches originally. And the leaders of these centers were not called ministers, but center leaders. And so they developed the center leader training program, which later became the seminary. And you may or may not know that I was once married to Connie Fillmore, the great granddaughter of Charles and Myrtle. Her father was Charles Rickert Fillmore. He was my father-in-law and the head of Unity when I worked there. Charles Rickert Fillmore's father, oddly enough, was named Rickert Fillmore. And he was the master architect of Unity Village. Just an amazing, amazing artist and genius. And I'll tell you from private conversations, I learned that both Rickert Fillmore and Connie's father, Charles Rickert Fillmore, really believed that it might have been better that the congregations didn't morph into churches and center leaders didn't morph into ministers. They sort of had a feeling that when you began to call them churches, they began to act churchy. And if you called them ministers, they began to act like ministers. And they didn't mean that in a complimentary way. What they meant was churches tend to draw boxes around them. And if you believe the way we do in this, you're in, and otherwise you're out. And that was never what Unity was about. It was really, in some ways, an ancillary religion that it would help you wherever you are. If you were Baptist or Jew or Muslim, and it helped you be a better Baptist, Jew, or Muslim, then they were happy with that. But churches then are about doing church things, and ministers sometimes become rather priestly and sort of have an attitude that the minister stands between the congregation up high and next to God. So you had God, ministers, and the congregation. And that really wasn't what the Fillmores believed. They believed the true true church was within every person, and that every person has equal access to God. Now, I tell you, sometimes over the years, my 40 plus years as a minister, I wish that congregations did see me as somehow between them and God, and they would listen to me. I can't tell you how many times and in board meetings, you'd hope, gee, and what happens if I pray and I get the idea we ought to go in this direction, and some board members said, well, I prayed and I think we ought to go in this direction. Well, how do you decide? And if I could say have been the priestly figure or had a bishop or something like that, say, well, I could get my way. But you see, that's a strength of unity, that all people can go straight to God. Is that an amazing concept? And that the church is within, and every person has equal access to God. And in time, the IRS got involved. Now, the idea of being a not-for-profit, a 501c3 not-for-profit religious organization is important. It's important so the churches or the communities or the centers wouldn't have to pay taxes, and people could give contributions and they would be tax deductible. That's an important idea. And so they were kind of talking with the IRS, and they said, well, listen, are you a church or not? I said, okay, I guess we're a church. Okay, well, then you have your 501c3. And that was how the what was then called the Association of Unity Churches was born. And later today, now it's called Unity Worldwide Ministries. But you see, there was kind of a lot going on here. People wanted a place to gather. They wanted a spiritual leader. Also didn't mind getting a tax deduction if they could send an offering in. Churches didn't mind if they didn't have to pay taxes either. So that's a very important thing. But there was sort of a forcing function that birthed the idea of unity churches. But I want you to get to a place to understand that unity really has always kind of favored the idea of centers. Two of the largest ministries in unity were built by Eric Butterworth. You probably know that name, Discover the Power Within You, read by millions, inspired many, many millions of people. And he was once minister in Detroit, Michigan, built that to a very large ministry. He left there and went to New York, which is a very small ministry, but that was his dream to go to New York. And in time, he built that into the largest ministry in unity. But Eric never called himself a minister, nor did he call those ministries churches. He called them centers. I had the privilege of working with Eric in New York. It's very interesting. When you see the end result of this big ministry, you think, man, he must have just shown up and it was big. But at first, he lived in the YMCA in the Upper West Side of New York, and he would teach some classes there, and he was trying to get a ministry going, and not very successful. Finally, a member of that community, was a Madison Avenue marketing guru, asked to meet with Eric. And he told Eric, you have a fantastic message, but you will never succeed if you keep trying to do church. What an interesting thought. The man told him there are a great number of magnificent buildings, church buildings in New York City that are empty or virtually empty on Sunday morning and on Wednesday evenings. He got Eric on the radio. In time, millions of people have listened to his message on the radio. And some great big names in ministry and New Thought. And they rented a ballroom and hotels to have services, and had a little office in a hotel and a small meeting room for classes. But eventually, they were able to go to Carnegie Hall And then when the Lincoln Center was built and it was bigger and beautiful and had better service than they were getting in Carnegie Hall, they moved to A.B. Fisher Hall in the Lincoln Center. And he nearly filled it every Sunday for many, many years. And on Easter, fire marshals had to turn people away. My point of all this is that if you keep doing what you've always been doing, you always get what you always got. And you keep thinking what you always been thinking, you always get what you always got. So there comes a time where you need to change. Both the Fillmores, Charles and Myrtle, and Eric Butterworth experienced what seemed to the world to be major failures. But in truth, they were just the closing on phases of their mission, their life's works, their dreams. Change was called for, and they made those changes and had fabulous success. Their successes helped to transform the lives of millions of people around the world. Now, I just tell you, I, for one, don't really like change, especially if it's inflicted on me by others or from the outside. That's my little personality defect, and I have to own that. Big ego. I think I'm pretty smart and pretty spiritual, and I know what I know, and I know the way things ought to work. But you know, it hadn't happened that way in life. I think you can ask every one of the ministers here and every one of the others there, because some way or another, you're a minister too. Life doesn't always go the way we plan. Someone said, if you want to make God laugh, show him your plans. And you know, there's some contradictions in this teaching. One is you shouldn't outline, that you should just be open. Let God be God, go with the flow. And then the other is, if you don't know where you're going, you'll probably end up someplace else. So on the one hand, you should outline, and you should plan, and you should work the plan and go in that way. And the other is, you shouldn't. So how do you know when you should do one and when you should do the other? Well, I think you have to stay close in consciousness to God thought, right? The world has changed. The world has changed. There are depressions. There are pandemics. And we have to adjust to these changes. If we can adjust and make the changes, we can move forward. So today, we are bringing to a close one phase of the ministry of Unity Blairsville. Can we grieve a little together? I think sometimes in unity, we think grieving is not spiritual or healthy. This time, this change, this retooling is not a failure. It's a change. Do you remember the story of Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead? One of the greatest miracles in the Bible. And you will find the shortest verse in the whole Bible in this story, John 11:35. 2 words, Jesus wept. Now, I have to tell you, not that I'm a great Bible scholar, Bible scholars will tell you, well, in the original version, it was longer than 2 words. And some of the more modern versions tell you it's longer than 2 words. But I've always liked Jesus wept. Jesus had been in hiding. There was a price on his head. He was going to be killed if he was captured. So he was hiding out in the countryside. And when Lazarus' sisters sent to him to heal their brother, he delayed going. And finally, against the wishes of his disciples, he went to Bethany, just on the outskirts of Jerusalem. And when he got there, he was told that his friend Lazarus had died, and his body was decaying and stinking to high heaven. I didn't use that phrase, but that's what they were saying. And Jesus was being severely criticized for his failure to act quickly. Man, if you'd have just come, look what we would have lost a brother, and it's your fault. You know, it's like bad Jesus, bad Jesus. But Jesus knew what he could do, and he knew what he was going to do. But while he was divine, at the same time, he was also human. And the human in him was overcome with grief, and so he wept. Is that okay? Is that okay? If we are sad about letting go of the name of this community as a church, then let's weep. But let us not stay there. The community has not died. It is still a noble work of God and a faith community. And by the way, I mentioned that Jesus was both human and divine. And guess what? So are you and you and you and you and me. Could you stand another Eric Butterworth story? I love this story. He was an officer in World War II, what was known in those days as a 90-day wonder. They needed officers, and they took intelligent, capable men and turned them from enlisted men to second lieutenants in 90 days. After the war, a number of the officers in his outfit went into ministry. Eric was the only one that went into unity. Others went into more traditional. But when they would have reunions, Eric and the other clergy would get together and debate theological principles. You know, I would just say, in my experience, debating somebody who has another theology from mine gets nowhere. Have any of you ever found that? You know, my mother used to always say, a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. So why bother? But I used to, but then I decided, no, I'm not going to do that. But Eric told one time, one of his former fellow officers was telling him that human beings are worthless, lowly sinners, and that's all that you're ever going to be. Eric interrupted him and he said, wait a minute, did not Jesus say to his followers, these things that I do, ye shall do, and even greater? The other minister stopped, pondered for a while, and then he said, yes, Jesus did say that, but I wish he hadn't. It's a big burden to be a spiritual being, isn't it? And you can't say, well, what do you expect? I'm only human. I'm a sinner. I'm a this, I'm a that. These things that I do, ye shall do an even greater. Oh, man. That's a big one. That's a big one. And I could understand him saying, well, I wish you hadn't. You know, if I don't believe that or others don't believe that, I can get away with a lot of sloppy work and bad behavior. Because what do you expect? Because I'm only human. Well, So I want to get to this thing about moving forward. We have seen in the history of unity, there have been many changes. We are not now what we have been, and we are not yet what we shall be. Let us know this: God is real. God is all good all the time, everywhere present. And God is for Unity Church of Blairsville, or Unity Center of Blairsville, or whatever we want to call it. It doesn't matter what we call it. What matters is that we continue to pray, to learn, to live the truth we know, and to share it with as many people who are interested. Many years ago, I was director of Silent Unity, Unity's worldwide prayer ministry. We knew that we had to have a new building. We had outgrown the old building. The education department was outgrowing where they were. So what the plan was to build a new Silent Unity building and renovate the old Silent Unity building, let that be the education building. But we needed $10 million. And we began working on plans and these things. And suddenly, by this time, I just have to tell you that Connie Fillmore and I had divorced. And I was working for her, my ex-wife, and Connie was the president of Unity. And I went to her and I said, you know, we're doing all this work and we don't even have a prayer to rally behind. And she, very presidential, said, well, John, go and write one. And I said, okay, I will. And I didn't just go in and write it, you know, I had to work with this. And this is what I came up with. This was to be a rallying prayer. Centered in God, assured by faith, and prospered by divine love, we boldly move forward to serve humanity by building unity together. Centered in God, assured by faith, and prospered by divine love, we boldly move forward to serve humanity by building unity together. This ministry in Blairsville is at the starting point of building a new form of ministry right here in the beautiful North Georgia mountains. First, let us always be centered in God. One of my greatest teachers at Unity Village is Martha Judici. If Jim Rosenberg's not smiling when I say her name, I didn't say it right. Martha Judici. She taught us that the true purpose of prayer is mind alignment. That is, we align our minds with the infinite mind of God. It is not about getting something from God up in the sky, getting him to do our bidding and give us everything we want. Rather, it is to align the human, limited thinking mind with the infinite, unlimited mind of God. And our point of contact with that infinite mind is within us. And next, we assured by faith and prospered by divine love. Now, Charles Fillmore defined faith as the perceiving power of the mind linked with the ability to shape substance. The perceiving power of the mind linked with the ability to shape substance. And that is the ability to see what cannot be seen with human sight. And the ability to shape substance is, oddly enough, it is the definition of imagination, one of the most powerful powers we can have and easiest to use. And then if you add love in that mix, you got the formula for success. So we're assured by faith with a little imagination, prospered by divine love. Let's live from love, not from the ego, but from love. And you see, nothing's impossible to us. I love another story from the history of Unity when the money was tight and the Depression and people came running to Myrtle Fillmore, who I think of as the heart of Unity. Charles was kind of the mind, and the heart and mind together really created something wonderful. But they ran to her and said, "Oh, Mrs. Fillmore, let's pray that the money holds out." And she said, "No, we must pray that our faith holds out." Faith, the perceiving power of the mind, linked with the ability to shape substance, and I'd say add that with love. And they did, and they made it through the Great Depression. They were able to eventually move back to Unity Village and build that great city and that wonderful place. And number three, we boldly move forward. Boldness and enthusiasm are required to move forward. I can guarantee you that nothing great was ever achieved without boldness and enthusiasm. So if I came here and said, "Well, I don't know, maybe we can be something good, and I thought about it, I hope we can. Well, okay, that okay with you? Well, you're gonna go home and say, whew, get rid of this turkey." Boldness. In 2 Timothy 1:7, we read, "For God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, of love, and self-discipline." Woo! You didn't get a spirit of timidity. I must admit, times in my life I have been timid. And then I have to remember, God did not give us a spirit of timidity, but a spirit of power, of love, and self-discipline. I'll tell you this, get excited, be bold, and move forward. And number four is, let's always remember what our purpose is: to serve humanity. It is not to serve ourselves. It's not to build a building of bricks and mortar. It is to serve. How and why and where we do so will be revealed to us if we stay centered in God. And remember, we're here to serve humanity. And number five, how do we do what we're being called to do? By building unity together. We must always remember that we are better together. The strength of our community does not come from having a gathering of great individuals. That could only take us so far. Our strength is from being united in our thoughts, in our prayer, in our vision, and our action. Together, we can build unity together right here, starting now. Now, I want to leave you with one of my favorite stanzas of poetry. It's from Tennyson's Ulysses, and it's the closing lines of that poem. The setting is long after the tremendous heroic voyages of Ulysses. He's a hero. He is beloved, but in his advancing years, he's grown restless. His life is not over, and he knows it. And so he says this to his friends, and I echo his words to you. Come, my friends, 'tis not too late to seek a newer world. Push off, and sitting well in order, smite the sounding furrows, for my purpose holds to sail beyond the sunset and the baths of all the western stars until I die. It may be the Gulf will wash us down. It may be we shall touch the happy isles and see the great Achilles whom we knew. Though much is taken, much abides, and though we are not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven, that which we are, one equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield. God bless us, everyone, friends. God bless us. We're on a great new adventure. We're going to sail beyond the baths of all the western stars. And now I want to take a breath and say, let's go into meditation, shall we? Boy, no good segue, but we're going to do it. Thank you. And breathe. And remember, the purpose of all this is not to get what we want from God and God's infinite mind and power and strength and love, but it is to align ourselves with the highest power there is, all benevolent, all wonderful, all good. And it is in that alignment that we find our way. We get the ideas, divine ideas from on high. And we get the how-tos that we need from that. And we find peace. Well, we find enthusiasm too. But right now it's a quiet enthusiasm. A time of thinking about God. Breathing in and out of our heart space. And knowing the truth that in every ending there's a new beginning. And now is the time for us to be what we're called to be. Individuals who teach and share, individuals who are center leaders. And we call this gathering these holy ones. And all are holy ones, but we are the ones gathered here who love this ministry and all the people and all the efforts that have gone into this. We think about God and we have thankful hearts and our hearts are full. And we're so grateful that this ministry is not ending. It's changing. As you listen to the music, let your mind rest easily, gently. Let the music lift you up. Let your mind be still. Let your heart be open. And know that you are aligned with the greatest force in the universe, from everlasting to everlasting. God above us, God beneath us, God in front of us, God behind us, God all around us. And it is good, and it is very good. And just be still. Breathe with me. Breathe. Breathe. And know it is done. It is good. And it is very good. And we say, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Almighty, infinite intelligence, love, and power. So be it. Amen and amen.
That was lovely. And before we do our offering blessing, I want to give thanks for each of the wonderful ministers who shared these Sundays with us, and they're all on the screen, for the musicians who lifted our spirits with their music, for the gifts of love, of guidance, of encouragement that have been given to us, that have inspired us, even when the way forward wasn't clear. I also give thanks for the blessings that Steve shared with us last week, for all the things happening in the world. Blessings for those impacted. And I give thanks for each one of you for sharing this moment with each one of us. I am so grateful. Thank you, and thank you. And now, our offering blessing is to bless the abundance of good flowing in and through our lives. Sometimes it's simply the connection with another human being, an opportunity to share joy and laughter. Sometimes it's gifts of money and sometimes talent. But it is all a gift, and we are grateful for that. And we share that together now with our offering. Together, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And it is good. Now, for commercial time, I managed to read our next two chapters for Finding Yourself in Transition, which will begin week 4 this Wednesday. The next chapters are 5 and 6 together. And I read 5 this afternoon, and you were so dead on, John. You must have read the chapter about the endings when who we are isn't who we need to be. And so we're letting go, like the Egyptians had to leave Egypt to be free. But that wasn't enough, because they had to come to a place where they understood that they were free and safe in God's love. And so that's part of it. And for, let's see, we've got Jim and Karen, I know John has traveled. I'm sure Jesse has. I know Marianne has. It talks about the difference between traveling, going on a trip, on a vacation, and journeying. And with journeying, it's not the destination, but the process. And I think the journey that Jim and Karen took on the trail, I know John must have, because he recommended a book to me to read when I thought I was going to Ireland. I bought a house in the mountains instead. Each one of us has that in us. And this Wednesday, if you want to share what those journeys, the process have been about, that's part of where we're going. And I'm so grateful for each one of you. And I think Dina's got another song, or did you just do another song? You're muted.
Thank you. I do have another song, and I'll give you some lyrics. Hang on, I just have to stand up so I can reach my computer.
Come on. Okay, there it is.
Sorry, that took a while. It was so long it wouldn't let me copy it all as one post, so I had to break it up into 2 pieces. All right. It's easier than it looks on the page there. All right. Yeah, I used this song once before a couple of months ago. So if it begins to feel familiar, please feel free to join in. And I'm going to do it in this key. There we go. All right, this is In the Hour of Truth. Bright as the sun on a brand new day. If we want to shine in the morning, we must let all the past fall behind us. We must give up the fear that would hide us. We must call on the Spirit inside us all, and we can stand in our power in the hour of truth. We can stand in our power in the hour of truth. We can stand in our power. We can stand in our power in the hour of truth. Clear as the water from a mountain spring. If we want to rise up singing, we must learn from the troubles that tried us. We must listen to all that reminds us. We must call on the Spirit inside us all, and we can walk in our power in the hour of truth. We can walk in our power in the hour of truth. We can walk in our power. We can walk in our power in the hour of truth. Fresh as the wind that sweeps across the plains. If we want to shout our true names, we must follow the compass that guides us. We must feel the power inside us. We must call on the Spirit inside us all, and we will rise in our power in the hour of truth. We will rise in our power in the hour of truth. We will rise in our power. We will rise in our power.
we come to peace song and closing with the prayer for protection, and then we get to chatter. Okay, Dina.
Yep, peace song is in the chat box. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as the one source, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Together, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And it is good. And you can turn off the recording.